Welcome back to my channel, guys. This is Coach DC from All 22 Films. We're going to be taking a look at Keondre Jackson. Played a spectacular football game in Saturday's preseason win over the Vikings. Look, a ton of guys are operating at a high level on this defense under Jesse Minter and Anthony Weaver, right? I want to do justice to all of them, but first and foremost, Keondre Jackson was everywhere. Even when he didn't have impact, I want to try to illustrate to you the multitude of ways that Minter and Weaver are deploying him. So we're going to talk about this play first. First drive, 3rd and 7. He's lined up over the tight end, number 3, in trips. And so you expect that you would possibly get man, some type of blitz structure with Minter having the guys in a mug look. Instead, you're going to get 3 guys dropping out, and this turns into yet another version of a Tampa 2-ish coverage for the Ravens. The 2 guys that are spot shadowed here are going to be your 2 high defenders. I recognize, however, that this is a corner up at the top side of the screen, and his width is not necessarily the same as the safety to the bottom. But take a look at TJ Tampa's drop down here at the bottom of our screen, and also Dominic DeLuca. He's going to push out to the flats. Tampa kind of squats in the flats here. I'm calling this an irregular Tampa 2. Keondre Jackson's job in this instance is to be the middle runner. So if the number 3 receiver was to go vertical, then he would have to run with him. As you probably know by now, a Tampa 2 is actually a misnomer. There's actually 3 players responsible for deep routes. It would be the two half-field safeties. In this case up here, admittedly, we do have a corner. And then the Mike linebacker traditionally. Minter and Weaver have been using the Tampa 2 coverage, in particular on 3rd downs, a lot through 2 preseason games. Still on this first drive, yet another 3rd and 13 where you're going to get a Tampa 2 look. Keondre Jackson is rolling down here a little bit to the side where there's 2 receivers. Miles Price is lined up in the slot at the top side of our screen. That's into the boundary, the short side of the field. He's apparently had a spectacular camp for the Minnesota Vikings. There's the 3 safeties. I'm calling this nickel 3 when we see this look from Minter and Weaver, meaning that the nickel rolls back and creates a 3-high safety structure between these 3 guys. That's not where they're all staying. They're not staying at the 3rd level of the defense. In fact, once again, you've got a middle runner here in the form of, I believe that's Wallace, but I could be wrong there. In any case, there's no attack downfield from the Vikings. It's a screen. And Keondre Jackson, I don't think he really gets credit for this tackle, but first of all, he's committed. He's shot out of a cannon when he gets any kind of read. He does not guess, in my opinion, of the probably 30 plays that I've looked at so far. Jackson wasn't all on the field for all of them because, of course, he missed, I believe, the 2nd possession. Some type of mistake, perhaps, on special teams that caused that. Green gets credit for the tackle here. Green is pursuing from inside out. Jackson is downhill. This is one of at least 2 plays, if not 3, that I'm going to show you where he shows up to support, whether it's a run play, whether it's a boundary side screen like this one on 3rd and 13. He's committed. A team play. Well, they're all playing as a unit. This defense is operating as one unit right now. To me, Keondre Jackson is at the top of the list as far as how well he's performing right now across a whole host of techniques and responsibilities. Jackson's not going to be involved with the tackle here, to be honest with you. This is on the 2nd drive. I think it's after Minnesota has gained a 1st down. The outside wide receiver, perhaps a hybrid tight end, I'm not sure, to be honest with you, is assigned to go block Jackson. And Jackson just does not care who shows up. I mean, he's a violent football player. This play, I took note of it because it's early in the game, like I said, 2nd possession. And how many times do you see wide receivers that are willing to take this type of hit, wide receiver and or tight end, whatever that guy is positionally, that are willing to take this type of hit, and then the next time the coach calls it, get there with the same force and the same timing? This is a young man, undrafted free agent from Illinois State, talking about Keondre Jackson, that recognizes, I think, the opportunity he's got to be the 4th safety on this defense that has a load of talent pretty much at all 3 levels of the defense, D-line, inside linebacker / nickel, and the secondary. Keondre Jackson belongs. This is still going to be on that 2nd drive, that 2nd possession. Keondre Jackson has got a nameplate above him up here, so you guys can identify him at the beginning of each play. It's a 2nd and 7. This is, of course, going to be Mike Green's sack against, admittedly a backup tackle for the Vikings. In fact, I think the guy might major in being a guard, but moonlight as being a tackle. So they're doing a lot here in Minnesota. It's a fake pitch play to the running back to the field. So you can see J.J. McCarthy's acting like he's going to pitch the ball to the running back, number one. Number two, the left guard, illustrated by this orange line here, is pulling in the same direction that the running back is going to step to. That's all to try to create conflict for the will linebacker, Dominic DeLuca, and open up one of those two routes. The under route, illustrated by the red line, and the over concept, illustrated by that blue line. Perfect coverage here from DeLuca and Keondre Jackson, if you ask me. A violent hit from Mike Green. Yet another cross chop that he uses. I've got him, magnified or spot shadowed a little bit. The timing is a little bit different. I'm trying to remember who it was that mentioned that on Twitter, that the timing of his cross chops looks variable. It looks like there's at least a couple of different timings that he's using there. But in any case, a really nice job. You can see McCarthy had just looked over here, and he's got nothing at the bottom of the screen, his right-hand side, the left-hand side of the Ravens defense, except a little one-man escort screen, if you will. Everything is covered up at the top side of the screen. I believe that is Bilal Coney, up at the top. I believe I might be wrong there. My apologies for that. But you got DeLuca matching up that under route. That was the blue line I showed you. And then you've got Keondre Jackson matching the over concept, the red line. Perfectly covered from a Ravens standpoint. Call it a coverage sack, whatever you want. The idea is that these guys are playing together, and each level of the defense is executing, borderline 100% of the time. Now, I'm really interested in what happened on the third possession. You may recall Keondre Jackson wasn't on the field at all. I think it was Ken from Film Study Ravens tweeted out that he was, concerned why that was. In fact, he had been involved with a special teams tackle, I think, a few moments before. Apparently, it's come out that there was some kind of mistake, perhaps, or penalty on him, or could have been a penalty. So Keondre Jackson was pulled on the third possession. So he wasn't there at all for the 50-yard bomb to Felton against Walters, our other backup safety, nor was he involved in the fourth down situation, the goal line stand, if you will, when obviously Minnesota could have scored if J.J. McCarthy puts a better throw out there in the flat. So we're on to the fourth possession here. He's back on. It's a 1st and 10. Vikings approaching midfield, 12 personnel group. And this receiver's width makes it really tough for him to get out to someone like Keondre Jackson, who is a guy who reads and reacts. So there's a couple of things that are going to go on in this play. John Jenkins gets a really nice step to the inside gap. Keondre Jackson lined up here at his heels are almost at 13 yards depth. In fact, they may actually be, but I've got it magnified, so it's a little misleading with the ball on the negative 45. He's definitely out here at 12 yards depth. He'll be the first guy to make contact, and this is just one of the ways that you have to use your safeties if you're going to stop the run from a nickel platform. So up here is the nickel defender, the B-gap bubble away from the two tight ends. We're talking about these two tight ends here. The B-gap bubble exists in here, and I think they're basically trying to run a duo-ish concept whereby they double team the defensive tackle. It's John Jenkins. He jumps to the inside, pinch, whatever you want to call it, and that kind of clears the way for Keondre Jackson. He sees it. He sees things really quickly. This is the same play from the end zone angle, by the way, and he reacts accordingly. Again, you're talking about a duo-type blocking scheme here. Jenkins is this defensive tackle. I think I'm going to magnify or zoom in on him a little bit so you guys can see it. If you're unsure about, what is duo versus, inside zone and other things, oftentimes you can tell by the fact that both edge defenders are being blocked. In this case, it's Ethan Burke. I hope to have a video out on him a little bit later this afternoon and or tonight, but both of those edge defenders are being blocked. In this case, the guy on our left, double team. The defensive tackle on the left side of our screen, double team. You can see that Jenkins has totally defeated the attempted double team / combo there. And then Keondre Jackson shows up. Wherever he shows up, he's got bad intentions. It's fun as I don't know what to watch film of him from this game. I found myself trying to cut as much film as possible to, I want to get out multiple videos today on Sunday because I think Ravens fans, just like Lions fans, are looking for content, hopefully, to watch of their team. The offense clearly struggled through 3 possessions. I'm going to do a standalone video on the 4th possession, how I believe Declan Doyle adjusted to what Flores and Minnesota were doing. That's going to be delayed because it took me so long to get this one done because Keondre Jackson was just so spectacular, in my opinion. So this is the fourth drive. Once again, the 2nd and 13. And you can see that he's giving some type of hand motion to the boundary side corner, the downside corner. I think that's longer beam, 37. It looks like their signal here is as if you're running or perhaps cleaning off the palms of your hands. Talking about the signal he's doing right there. But in any case, it's a 2nd and 13. And you get different names for this stuff. People call it basic, whatever. Essentially, they're putting this defender in conflict by the shallow route from the tight end who went in motion, and then the in cut from the wide receiver at the bottom of our screen that was illustrated by that red line. And J.J. McCarthy doesn't go for it because of the reaction, the quick reaction of Keondre Jackson. You would be trying to fit the ball on this throw here to the red line. You'd be trying to fit the ball in this window. Sorry about that. I recognize that the background makes it difficult to see. In this window, perhaps purple doesn't work either. You'd be trying to fit it in that window between the nickel defender who's checked up on the tight end and the inside linebacker, Higgins. And Keondre Jackson's just a guy who puts himself in great position. I think he's 6'2", 210 pounds, went undrafted. Missouri Valley Conference, if I said it right, a place that's known for good football. Illinois State, undrafted guy. Just, I think it gives you an indication as to how much talent is out there if it's coached the right way. Keondre Jackson played well last year on special teams as a rookie. I think he got into 12 games, maybe 13. Ended up with a number of tackles, had, of course, the forced fumble and a fumble recovery. We've moved on to the second quarter here, and we're into the 5th drive, in fact. It's another 1st and 10. You can see he's spot shadowed at the top with Walter. So a split zone concept, and Peebles and Okoye get credit for this tackle. It's a sick move by Peebles at the top of the screen. This defensive tackle here, playing in a 3 technique, and then Okoye on the bottom side is going to fold back in on the backside. So here's the 2 defensive tackles I'm talking about, Okoye and Peebles. But I just love the reactions of Keondre Jackson. We would say, once you get your read, your heel or your toe, or your foot, whatever, is in the ground, and you're not getting any vertical movement away from the football. Everything you're doing is downhill, and you can see he's just got great instincts, number one, but number two, even more importantly, he reads extremely well when it's his. Now, sometimes safeties are rolling. Sometimes it's predetermined that one safety's going to roll here and the other safety's going to roll downhill. That's absolutely a dynamic that sometimes can make a safety look quicker than he is with his reads and his reactions. But this is so consistent with Keondre Jackson, at least yesterday. It still goes down as a 4-yard gain for Scott out of an 11 personnel group. I think 82 is a receiver. I could be wrong. He could be a little bit of a hybrid, but in any case, split zone concept, kicking out the edge defender here. Peebles has totally annihilated the right guard there. Okoye is able to fold back in, and again, the support of Keondre Jackson showing up on run concepts in between the tackles to make sure that a running back doesn't surge forward for, in that case, another yard or perhaps yard and a half. A really cool moment here. Again, credit to Ken on Film Study Ravens. I believe he tweeted out about this during the game, that this was our first iteration of dime. Definitely our first iteration of dime yesterday. I think it could be the first time that we've seen it here in the preseason at all. All right, so here we go. Like I said, it's a 3rd and 6 on the 5th possession. We're in dime. The only inside linebacker on the field is Higgins. DeLuca nor 57. Neither one of those guys is on the field. So we've got Jackson here, spot shadowed or magnified. Keon Martin up there, and then a 2 high safety structure right there. So 6 DBs on the field with the 2 outside corners. You can see the shape that we take. It's man, and we get beat down to the bottom side of the screen from the standpoint of giving up the first down. I think that is Dylan Bell, 89, against Bilal Coney. Jackson's playing man. Who's the dime linebacker here? It kind of doesn't matter, to be honest with you, because the ball's in the middle of the field. So if the ball was on the hash, it'd be a little bit easier to refer to. But I'm calling Keon Martin the nickel. He is normally the nickel in our 4-2-5 structure in the preseason, at least. And so I'm saying that we've declared the passing strength to our left, the top side of our screen, and Keondre Jackson is the dime linebacker on 3rd downs. Very similar to what Kyle Hamilton will do during the regular season. Physical, perhaps overly so at times. But this is a guy that doesn't give an inch, doesn't budge, and damn sure doesn't back down. I feel like I don't know Keondre Jackson at all, but watching this film, like I said, I think I cut 11 or 12 plays up. I just couldn't stop appreciating the things he was doing. To me, he's the type. He looks like the type of guy that you want 10 of on your team. Another opportunity to just talk about his reads and when he shows up to support his teammates in a tackling situation. This is a 2nd and 5. Again, on that last one, it was a conversion, Bell versus Keondre, but I think there was also a penalty on TJ Tampa that was called. I don't know if this is 12 or 11 for Minnesota, but what I do know is we appear to be in our base defensive structure. So we've got 5 down linemen down here on right here, and then 1 inside linebacker. A 2nd inside linebacker is apexed out right here. So the Vikings are trying to create a 3-on-3 with, call it whatever you want, RPO type action with the running back faking the run action into the boundary, and then a bubble screen up here to the top. There was no mesh, though, between Wentz and the running back. It could be that this was, determined pre-snap and maybe he made a call, or he just chose to throw the ball out to the field. But I love the angle that Keondre Jackson takes. 47, maybe I misspoke there, trying to be a little bit physical out on the edge with the number 2 receiver / tight end. I'm talking about the guy who's spot shadowed here. And then Jackson is fitting in the alley between the outside corner and 47. Again, when he shows up with bad intentions. Looks like the kind of guy that, if you're playing football and your back is turned and you get hit in the back, especially playing defense, you generally are like, okay, that was a teammate. You can pretty much tell it was probably Keondre, because he's a guy who just doesn't seem to turn the volume down at all. Still on that 5th possession, and I should make clear that this is in the 2nd quarter. I'm going to stop my analysis with these 2 unbelievable plays back to back from a Keondre Jackson standpoint. So 2nd and 10. The Vikings are in 11 personnel, so we're in our base nickel structure. So nickel DB down here is Keon Martin. I think we're pretty much in man at the top with Tampa, and at the bottom with Keondre. I hope that's Keondre. If I misidentified him multiple times, my apologies for that. But we're basically in man there. And then the 2 slots here in the tight end are going to chip and then release. Jackson is responsible for the slot up top. Technically, it's a tight end, 85. It's a great play, in my opinion. And Jackson does something subtle that kind of shows up right as or after Carson Wentz is going to throw the football. I believe Carson Wentz is looking here. Tampa being kind of handsy with the receiver at the top. I believe that's Bell. And then Wentz comes back to the top of the screen. You can see he kind of throws this a little blindly. But I really like what Keondre Jackson does. The timing of it is a little bit off. He's retaining the space between him and the tight end. Essentially, the idea is you don't need to be so connected to the tight end right now. And this is where some of the modern data points that are used to talk about coverage guys, there's separation here. He's leaving this room intentionally. It's not always, trying to bait the throw. It's an idea of I can help someone else if the ball is thrown there because I have eyes on the quarterback and I understand or I know the route that the tight end is running. It ends up being a loss of 1. That's a subtle skill that, overhang defenders, safeties need to be able to utilize. I've kind of coached it before, to be honest with you, talking to kids about, don't jump it so much that you can't help with anything else out here. Meaning, basically, if Keondre Jackson was right next to this tight end, the ball's not going to be thrown there, which would be fine too. He might intercept it. But there is a time and a place to leave some space between yourself and the defender. Normally, that place is out in the flats, number 1, and that time is as the play has been extended some. And Carson Wentz didn't scramble around here, but what I mean is it's not snap, 1, 2, 3, ball out. It's normally as the timing of the play has lengthened some that you want to leave more space and help take away routes further down the field. Now, granted, we're in man, so some would say that doesn't necessarily apply there. I just think you've got an extremely aware player, and you just see markers of it on a snap-by-snap basis pretty much every play that he was on the field yesterday. As fun as that one was to talk about, this one's even more so. It's the ensuing snap. It's a 3rd and 11. Now, my screen recording, Keondre Jackson had kind of already, quote, gave away the blitz, but I don't think Carson Wentz saw it, number one. Number two, we had not played a 2-deep 4-under yet, and I believe that gives Carson Wentz some pause here as he looks to the bottom side of the screen first, the left-hand side for the offense. So this is, of course, his sack. We're going to take the nickel, Keon Martin, and roll him back. And then Walters and Martin are going to play half-field safety. I think this is a 2-deep 4-under shell. You can see that Keondre Martin shows up, virtually unblocked. I believe I'm going to give you the end zone angle in a moment. It's not perfect as far as saying 4-under, okay? So we're talking about these 4 players here connected by those shaded lines. Why is that, all right? Because 2 of them, Green and Higgins, they're lined up at the line of scrimmage. Of course their drop is going to be more shallow. They're not going to get the same depth as the corners on the outside who lined up 4, 5, 6, 7 yards off the line. That explains for me, and the way that it was taught to me years ago, and the way that I in turn taught it to other people, that explains the differential in these drops sometimes. So no, it doesn't look clean as far as calling it a 4-under. Keep in mind it's a 3rd down. Here's the line to gain. So it makes sense that the 2 corners are at that depth or right at that line. You definitely have a 2-deep structure, 4 underneath droppers in my opinion, which means mathematically there's a 5-man rush. Keondre Jackson, takes advantage. Same play from the end zone angle. Like I said, this will be the last one that we talk about. You get a little bit of an idea of the droppers and the angle they take. Higgins, that angle that I have drawn there in purple is accurate. This one is not for Green. There's only so much space to deal with for me on the right-hand side. So he actually drops out a little bit more angular towards the sideline. And you can see Carson Wentz is looking, off screen to our right. I'm going to pull this back for a moment. That's down here. You can see where Carson Wentz is looking right now. Okay, so going to run that back again for a moment and get you to the point where I've had it paused a moment ago. He's looking off screen. We've certainly pulled one over on the Vikings offensive line. 5th possession is around that time for both teams, to be honest with you, where the offensive line play, kind of struggles in a preseason situation. The Detroit Lions yesterday, their game against the Commanders was a perfect example. I mean, really struggled once they got to their backup offensive lineman. In this case, Minter and Weaver pull this off. You get a free rush for Keondre Jackson. I think the running back peels out to block Zion Young. Free rushers, you get one of them is great. You get 2 of them briefly for a moment is fantastic. It's the usage of Keondre Jackson to me, the wide variety of ways that he was deployed, both pre and post snap, I think just tells you what the coaching staff thinks of this guy. I don't pretend to be an expert on Keondre Jackson. Certainly don't remember scouting him for the draft last year. I did see him on special teams. And to be honest with you, at that time last year, watching him on special teams, I thought he was like a 3rd-year guy for a period of time. There was probably the 4th or 5th time I noticed him on special teams. I thought, okay, let me figure out who this guy is. Where did he come from? And then come to find out, lo and behold, he was a UDFA. He plays like it on one hand, but on the other, he still plays like a veteran. Very versatile, extremely intelligent. I think this defense is clearly very well coached. Nonetheless, you still have to be able to adapt and adjust to the formations, the routes, the plays that show up in the game. It looks to me like Keondre Jackson is prepared for each and every situation. I couldn't think more highly of the guy. In our Ravens Discord after yesterday's game, I real quickly said to some people that I think that Keon Martin and Keondre Jackson could probably play right now for 10 teams in the NFL. Granted, perhaps they wouldn't be playoff teams, but I'm using that number to illustrate the quality with which he goes out there and plays, and Keon Martin as well. Now, how many snaps will they get per game for our Ravens defense in 2026? What we're projecting, how efficient we think they will be, especially in the secondary, with guys like Kyle Hamilton, Jalen Hawkins, Malachi Starks. He may not get on the field, but he's a really good football player, and I'm glad that we have the preseason. For now, who knows what'll happen in the future? But this is a guy that's fun to watch, to go out there and execute. I think he's playing at the level of a starter given the opposition that we faced yesterday. You know, J.J. McCarthy and Carson Wentz is where and when, or against who I should say, he contributed most of his production. The last two plays here just illustrate, in my opinion, all that can be accomplished with this young man. Man defender on the tight end, tackle for loss, and then another tackle for loss / sack on Carson Wentz to finish the fifth drive. It went into a 3-3 tie at the half. Defense played amazing. I think he played another series, maybe two in the third quarter. I don't know how much we see him next week, guys. Just feel like he's put so much great film out there that we're going to get some of these other backup safeties. But then again, you know, we only have so many. Spectacular player. I hope that the video that I've put out here does him justice for the performance that he gave. You never know what the Ravens' plans are to get down to the 53-man roster, number one. Number two, you never know what other teams need. And this group, it would not surprise me, not Keondre Jackson, but it would not surprise me if there was a trade before the cutdown day. I'm talking about a young defensive player for the Ravens, because we're at a numbers game on the defensive side, clearly, with, you know, defensive line and secondary. Keondre Jackson is not going to be a part of that. I think it's pretty clear he's the fourth safety. He deserves to be. Played a whale of a football game yesterday. 8 tackles, I believe 6 solos, the 2 TFLs. Involved in another 3 or 4 tackles late, or that, you know, he didn't get credit for because other guys were there first. I had a lot of fun putting this one together. I was trying to be done with it by noon, and it went an hour longer because it just felt it felt so enjoyable to cut all of these efficient, really clean defensive plays from a Ravens standpoint, but specifically for Keondre Jackson. One of my favorite videos that I've put out in a long time. I hope you enjoyed it too. If you did, please let me know in the comments section, and obviously, you know, like the video if you enjoyed it as well. And finally, if you think other Ravens fans want to hear or should hear what I have to say about Keondre Jackson, as well as the plays that I used to illustrate my points, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach. Appreciate you guys' time.